Hey everyone, how's it going? We have a video today where we're gonna show you my 92 EG hatch. This car is airride, it's got cool wheels, it's turbocharged, and it's shaved exterior engine bay. This is a pretty cool car for somebody who at my age was like 17 or 18 driving this around. So let's get into it. We'll go over it all. We'll go through the exterior, the interior, and the engine bay, and we'll just kind of go through everything in detail. So here we are. This is my 92 EG hatch. My father bought me this car and we brought it home from North Carolina. This was going to be our project together, and this was our first car that we ever painted, did body work to. So it's not perfect, but out of all the cars we've done and stuff, this has basically been the one that's been the testament and tested time, really. We'll just kind of go right through the beginning. We brought it home and shaved the hood so it doesn't have the Honda emblem anymore. We did the front bumper so it doesn't have license plate holes, because normally they have like these big blocks. And then we did the fender, the doors, and the quarter panels. There's usually a trim here that sets in like a recessed area. So we welded steel in the doors, the quarter panels, and the fenders, and then just did a little bit of body work on top of them to smooth them out. We also shaved the door handles. So normally you have these door handles that open to the side. They're now removed, and we have a door popper system in place to open the doors and actuate them. And then we also shaved the Honda emblem on this like tailgate piece for the hatch, and removed the keyhole for locking and unlocking that little hatch piece, that little tailgate piece. And when we purchased the car, it had a little bit of rust here on the quarter panel, on the bottom and the top, and it was the same on both sides. So we cut the metal out, replaced it, and just feathered it up and perfected it. And the car color is grabber blue, so we called this the grabber blue EG hatch. Part of the restoration, we did these spoon style mirrors. We painted those black just to kind of accent and complement the blue. We redid the plastic rocker panel pieces. I wasn't sure how those were gonna hold up over time. The whole car is base coat, clear coat, but we did a one-step black on the mirrors. We did it on the side skirts there, and it held up really great. We also did the engine bay with a one-step, and it also turned out pretty good. It's super dirty. The whole car is super dirty. And then we also did an OEM style front lip, but we didn't actually retain the factory front lip. And then we did black inserts on the bumper. So a lot of blue, a little bit of black kind of sprinkled throughout the window tint. We also did these B-pillar pieces with the same one step. And then we did a carbon fiber rear spoiler. So super dirty right now, but it cleans up nice. Now for wheels, these are the NK92s. They're a pretty nice wheel. I think this is a 15 by 8. And I did a 195 45 15 on it. I also had my buddy machine me these center caps. I feel like they make the wheels stand out just enough, but it's not like over the top. You just notice that it looks good, you know. Also, when we did the restoration, I did new headlight housings, blinkers. We wrapped those corner lights yellow, and we also did new tail lights. So these are like I think they call them like the candy cane style. So they're red and white. Normally, this section on factory lights are yellow. So I like the red on the white look. It's pretty cool. So now that we've kind of gone over the outside of the car briefly, we'll go over the engine bay and kind of everything that it took to get that to where it is. We'll go over the engine setup and just kind of break it down for you guys. So most of this car is kind of eBay built, just because when I was younger, my budget was different than it is today. So it's got an eBay tubular manifold, which this thing sucks, by the way. I wouldn't recommend it. I had to weld all the runners and the collector because everything kept cracking. And then I also made a bracket, as you can see down in there, that connects to the turbo just to stop that thing from bouncing around and breaking all the time. It just kind of secures everything. We did an eBay turbo. It's like a GT28 style, so it's on the smaller side for sure. But this engine is the D16 Z6, so this is only a 1.6 liter. There isn't a ton of displacement. So just because there's not a lot of air and exhaust going through this thing, I wanted to make sure that I had a turbo that was small enough to, get this thing moving and we weren't waiting forever. I also wanted something that had a good low-end power band. The engine is completely stock. We took it apart and put piston rings in it just because they had worn out over the years and the engine had quite a bit of blow-by. And then we also have the stock Z6 trans. This swap actually came out of a Del Sol but this is the engine that would have been in this car if it wasn't SI. But this model car was actually a VX and was just used as a commuter car and nothing else really. It just, the engine that was in this got like 50 miles to the gallon, and the person that owned it before me drove the heck out of it. So just to step away from the engine real quick, I feel like it's the perfect time to talk about it. It may be on the hard side to see, but this car has 390,000 miles on it and more. When I bought this car, I think it had like 368. For some reason, that number sticks in my head. It had been well used before I bought it, and everything has basically been changed now. If you saw this car, you would not assume that it had almost 400,000 miles on it or drove it. It also doesn't drive like it has 400,000 miles on it. But back to the engine bay, we did the eBay intercooler, which I think is perfectly fine for the car. I don't see any issue with this intercooler. We also have the eBay blow-off valve. These are normally like a bright purple, but I just painted that one black just to kind of match everything. And I also need to change out this boost tube because I just realized that this is blue. I forgot about that. So at some point, I'll change that out to a black one. So yeah, for the fuel system, we have a Walbro 255 in tank, and then we also have Fuel Injector Clinic 1000 cc injectors. So whatever this car does, whether it's a single cam it's for the rest of its life, or it moves to like a B series or something, they all take the same injectors. So I could make 600 or 700 horsepower on those fuel injectors and not have a problem. Although my plan for this is to make in the 300s with it someday. Just a simple piston rod setup. I think 300 horsepower will make this car scream. Because with those stock rods, I'd say this car makes probably 180 horsepower or so. And it's plenty of fun. That's the turbo setup on the car. That's the engine bay. Also, when I was like 17 or 18, I shaved the engine bay by myself. My dad primed and painted it. Turned out really good, especially for someone my age doing all the body work and stuff. But I hated every second of doing that engine bay when I was that age. The car actually sat for months without anything getting done to it just because I didn't feel like doing it. And we also have engine mounts too. But other than that, the engine bay is pretty simple. It used to be a lot cleaner. Everything was wire tucked and it was really neat. But over time, I had like issues with O2 sensors or whatever. And I just started working on it without keeping it pretty in mind. Let's move on to the interior now. We're gonna go over the air ride components, and we'll talk about why the interior looks the way it is, and a little bit of the future plans for the interior. And here we are with the interior. As you can see, when we did the paint job, we did all the doors, we did the jambs, everything that we could, we did. This was a full teardown. We did a new carpet in it just because the old carpet was worn out. And the dash is in really good shape. The door panels are in really good shape. And the console is in really good shape. So eventually with this car, my plan is to gut the interior, because at one point in time I did do that and it kind of broke the headliner. As you can see right here, it's broken because it got folded up, and then the back is hanging. These rear seats are in pretty good shape, but it's just not you can't use them. Putting people in the back of this car doesn't really make sense. So I think that the car is better suited to kind of be like a street show fast car. So I'm gonna gut the interior out of it. I'll keep the door panels, I'll keep the dash, I'll keep the console, and I'll probably cut the carpet in this region. So anything behind that will be metal. We'll paint the whole interior white, and I'll remove the window tint so you can kind of see in there. And then it's on airlift 3H system, single compressor. I think that's a 4-gallon end port tank. But, I've got this cap here, but I don't have that one. It's just like I'm missing things. Like there's a sheetrock screw in this. Like the interior just kind of sucks. And this tailgate piece is all scratched up from people before me. It sucks, but I think that it would look better if I just spray the whole inside of the car white and enjoy it that way. You can see the headliner. And actually, since we're talking about the air ride a little bit, it's just a bag rider's kit with all airlift management. And then for the air struts, we have airlift performances, just the EG hatch or coupe air springs. This car has the adjustable dampening, and it makes a giant difference in terms of comfort. So I like the car to be driven at about this height here. And then when you air out, obviously it goes lower. But at that height, it's very comfortable and enjoyable to drive. Whereas like air ride cars, the more you raise them, the firmer the ride quality gets. I've got to clean this car out. It's a giant mess. As you can see there, I've got the seat bracket, because the seats for this car are actually in my race car, because I didn't have any seats for the race car. For this car, I actually planned on putting different seats in it. The seats that are now in my race car aren't very huggable. And I mean, they're comfortable, but when I see this car, I picture something different in them. I'd like a Bride Lomax, like a fixed back, or like a Recaro pole position or something. So eventually I think this car will get those. So there, if you can kind of picture that, white interior, I'll take and mount the tank, probably on like a plate. We'll weld a plate coming off of that, kind of like an L for the air compressor and the air management to sit. And we'll have bulkhead fittings that shoot all the air lines under the car. And I think it'll just look a lot better than it does now. It's really messy. It's also, everything fits really loosely just because I've taken it apart and stuff before. And these cars were made back in 1992, so they're not the best fitting. And they also are like creaky and stuff. This car, being it has 400,000 miles on it, it's been around, it's been driven quite a bit. So I just kind of want to strip it down, make it more basic than it is. And I think I'll be able to enjoy it that way more than the way it is now. And then, like I said, the back seats wouldn't match the front seats. And the back seats are also pretty unusable, and they're very unusable if you put fixed back one-piece bucket seats in there, because you can't move the seat forward to let people in the back. So that's gonna do it for this video. Now that we've reintroduced you guys, or introduced you to the car for new followers, this is just my turbo bagged EG hatch that I built when I was a kid. It's really cool to see where it is today, and then we also can start re-logging everything about this car, because when I was younger, I made videos about this car. Although it hasn't changed much since those videos, I feel like it's cool to keep it relevant and keep talking about it. I'll see you guys in the next video. What we're probably gonna do is we're gonna clean this car up. So we're gonna give it a wash, we'll detail it. We're just gonna get the dust off of it. We'll clean the interior out, get all the junk that's in there out of there. There's stuff in here I don't even know why I was keeping. So we're gonna get that stuff out of there, and then after that video, I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna move into the air ride portion of the car, because I can't leave the air ride positive cable connected to the battery. Otherwise, it drains the battery while the car is just sitting. So we're gonna figure that out in that video, and then we'll just work onto something else. I'm not quite sure what the car needs, but we'll just kind of get into it or whatever then. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you want to see this car actually driving, making boost, doing burnouts, and doing pulls, I highly recommend just scrolling down my page. I'll have shorts posted every day of this car making turbo noises, doing pulls like I just said, and doing a little bit of like rolling burnouts or just burnouts in general. So that'll kind of give you guys some cool content. I appreciate you guys coming and checking this video out, and we'll see you next time with the same car, but we're gonna clean it up.